Chapter 8. Vinification of red wine. To make red wine, the juice is fermented with the grape skins. Red wines undergo a long maceration and are the product of the substances found in grape juice, but also of the substances found in solid matter, which is then transferred to the must by maceration. There are two types of maceration. Short maceration often gives a fruity red wine with intense colours, like purple, and is a little astringent on the palate, and is better drunk in the short to medium term. Long maceration, on the other hand, is suitable for storing and aging red wines. This process favours the movement of substances in the wine, mainly tannins, which evolve as the wine ages, and which gives high-quality wines with characteristic aromas. The main processes that a red undergoes are listed as follows in order: destemming, vatting, remontage, alcoholic fermentation, malolactic fermentation, devatting, pressing, aging, wine transfer, bottling. Destemming. This is the stripping of the grape cluster, which separates the grape from the stalk. Depending on what kind of wine we want, the stripping can be different. It can be total, partial, or not destemmed at all, as is the case for wines which undergo a carbonic maceration. Vatting. After destemming, the pulp from the skin along with the grape juice is siphoned off into vats where it will be fermented. When filling the vat, you should leave it unsealed to facilitate subsequent operations and to avoid spilling the liquid. In practice, the vats are filled to a minimum of 5 or 6 parts by volume to form what is called the cushion of carbon dioxide to prevent acidification at the top layer of pulp. Remontage. It's very useful practice in making red wines, and especially for wines intended for aging. The function of this process is to sprinkle or water the top layer of the wine underneath. When the vat is filled, it is paramount to mix the pulp and skins into the grape juice, and this is done by pumping so as to give maximum flavour and colour. The traditional method of remontage is done by feeding the juice at the bottom of the vat into a pump and releasing it through a sprinkler system at the top. The process then needs to be done via aeration, which is when you crack the top layer in order to prevent acidification and suffocation of the yeasts. This needs to be done at least 1 or 2 times per day to overpump a quarter or 1/5 of the vat volume. At present, Maset Del Lleo has self-emptying tanks which carry a very sophisticated pump which is programmed to perform this task. The initial pumping favours the extraction of the pigments and polysaccharides attached to the cell wall of the grape, while the last pumping favours the extraction of astringent components from the seeds, which in certain enological practices are of interest, for example in aged wines. Alcoholic fermentation. This is when the yeast feeds on the sugar and juice and converts it into alcohol, resulting in the formation of carbon dioxide in the wine and a layer that prevents the wine from coming into contact with oxygen. Controlling the density and temperature is very important, and you must check these 2 things at least 2 or 3 times daily for the duration of fermentation. Malolactic fermentation. Malolactic fermentation takes place once the alcoholic fermentation has ceased, and it is used to correct the resulting acidity of the first fermentation. It is a natural wine process in which malic acid, a bitter herbal flavour, is converted into lactic acid, making the wine more pleasant and smooth on the palate, with improved aromatic qualities. This is why it is a fundamental process in obtaining quality wines, and more so in wine-producing regions which tend to produce wines with a high acidity. Devatting. When the winemaker has decided that enough substances have been extracted from the skin, then the grape skins and seeds and other substances are separated from the wine, and it is transferred into another tank after it has been pressed to remove the skins, etc. Pressing. The first gentle pressing of the wine usually produces a good quality wine, whereas subsequent pressings tend to produce less thin wines, with more concentrated colours and other substances which are essential for the production and aging of fine red wines. The intervention of the winemaker determines which batch of wine is valid and which is not. Aging. This is the process by which the wine is aged in a controlled environment to lend it greater personality. The aging of the wine is determined by the time it spends in a wine barrel or vat after fermentation. The higher the concentration of the tannins, the longer the wine can be put down for, the tannins softening out over time. Wine transfer. This is done by transferring the wine from one barrel to another, about 3 or 4 times a year, to eliminate the deposits that form at the bottom of the barrel as a result of natural sedimentation of particles. In addition, this allows air into the wine in a more vigorous manner and is beneficial for the development of certain quality-enhancing substances in the wine until it is bottled. Bottling. The aging process culminates with the filling, which takes place when the producer believes that the aging of the wine has reached the ideal point. We have a technical manager in our winery, the winemaker, who is responsible for selecting the grapes from old, low-yielding vines to produce wines which will specifically be destined for aging, such as the Gran Reserva Cabernet Sauvignon or the Syrah Reserve Maset Del Lleo, both winners of numerous international competitions.